On Tuesday's class, we started with the question, what is Asian American literature? And before we even tried to answer that question, first we split it up and we tried to answer what is Asian, first of all. We said we were wondering if Russia was Asian, someone from Russia wrote something, would it be considered Asian American literature? Someone from Iran, someone from Fiji, and uh, it was very difficult to kind of determine where exactly. So instead, we split them up and into East Asia, Southeast Asia, and South Asia, which all have its own countries, and such as East Asia has China, Korea, Japan, Taiwan, Hong Kong. Southeast Asia, Vietnam, Thailand, Laos, Burma, and East Timor. And South Asia has India, Sri Lanka, and Pakistan. Then we tried to answer the question, what is literature? And we kind of came up on the answer of written works that are consumable and interpretable. And we also said music as well, because music can be written. And we said it was written for Asian Americans, by Asian Americans. And we had a long discussion about what constitutes or what determines the fact that it's Asian American or its authenticity. And in that discussion, I feel as though the more questions we asked, the more confused we got. And eventually, we tried to list all the Asian American actors we knew, and we listed 16. While there's tons of American white actors that we could have listed as well. And although people say Asian Americans receive less prejudice, um, we were wondering why there was a lack of representation then. And I feel as though part of that, the reason that that's the case is because the fact that we kind of label anyone from like Southeast Asia, South Asia, or East Asia as Asian American, that there's a lack of representation, and that uh, whether that's like movie studios or just like individual people don't see the differences between certain countries. And I feel my thoughts on this are that I feel that it's not fair for people or a group to get grouped together and just be called Asian Americans and get their literature labeled as Asian American. Once I thought about it more, I realized when we all introduced ourselves, for me, I said that my parents were Ecuadorian, and I didn't say they were South American, because that's where they're from. That's the country they're from, and just like Asia, while there may be similarities between the cultures, religions, and people of each country, uh, all those people deserve to be recognized for those differences, because those differences are exactly what determines whether what is authentic or not. And whether that, whatever it is we're talking about, whether it's literature or food or anything, comes from those countries. And I feel like when we use a label Asian American, we kind of erase all those, we do erase the difference between each country in Asian America, such as the ones I listed earlier, like Korea, Japan, Taiwan, China, Hong Kong, and we erase the differences between each country that makes each one special, and that's not fair to the people, to anyone who lives in any of those countries. And I feel a way that we can change this and make it better is to be more specific, maybe, and take the time to not just label someone or label something as Asian American literature, but maybe be more specific as to what part of Asia there might be, because as we found in discussion that day, it was really hard to determine what was Asian and what was not. So I feel like the easy solution is to just be more respectful and um, specify what country you are talking about when you're speaking of Asian American literature.